right, join me right now is UFC welterweight contender Vicente Luque. Thank you, Vicente, again for joining me on the show. How's life?
Thank you, man, for having me here once again. And life is good, better than ever. I got a kid on the way. Soon I'm going to be a father. And have a great fight lined up. Training camp is going great, so couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, before we get into that, I wanted to congratulate you and Carol on the new baby coming. When is it due? When is the baby due?
End of April or beginning of May.
Okay, so you're cutting it close a little bit, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I felt like I wanna fight close to it because then I can take some time off and just enjoy it. So
Oh, of course, of course. If you noticed recently, fighters that have had babies, they've performed really well, or they're going to have babies. You know, Kai Kara France got that crazy knockout. Amanda Nunes got the submission. Jan Blachowicz, that whole card, right?
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a great motivation. It's the best one.
Definitely, definitely. Now, you're making a turnaround, 8 month turnaround, right? And I was thinking, like, man, usually I talk to you like every 4 months, 5 months at the longest. Were you just patient with your approach, or did you get frustrated with not getting booked?
Uh, it was kind of like I didn't get frustrated because it was more of in a way, it was a choice of mine. I wanted to fight somebody in the top 10. So I knew that, I would need some patience because these big fights don't happen like that easy. I was keeping myself ready to fight in December. I even kind of tried to get that fight against Leon Edwards once it went down, like it didn't work out with Chimaev, but it didn't happen. So I just kept myself ready to get a big name opponent. And finally, I got Woodley. I couldn't ask for a better name. And I think, this time was actually good for me because I was able to work on a lot of stuff that I needed to work. And usually I don't have so much time without a fight. Whenever I have a fight, I'm specifically training for that opponent. But now, because I didn't have an opponent for a while, I could just focus on myself and improving and getting, becoming a better fighter. So I felt like it was a good time off training and just developing on my own style. And now I had some great time to have a good training camp, and be ready for this fight.
When you get into the rankings and get into that top 10, how important is it to have someone representing you that knows the game and knows how to play the game?
Man, it's super important. I think Ali is a great guy. He was always knows the best choices to make for us. And we're always talking. He's a great guy. Also, as a human being, as a person, he's awesome. And since I've started working with him, I can't complain. My career, jumped to a different level. And he always makes sure, I'm getting good fights as a show and as a fight that is gonna move me up the division and get me closer to that title fight. So I couldn't ask for a better manager. Definitely.
Definitely. Now you're facing Woodley next. It's a huge fight, and you actually helped your friend, one of your good friends, Gilbert Burns, prepare for Woodley himself. What did you learn from that training camp, helping him out?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to have done that because I watched a lot of tape on Woodley for that fight, and I was kind of emulating, fighting on his style. Like physically, we're different. I'm a little bit taller than him, but I would try to kind of act like he does on the fights. So that helps me a lot now. I did watch tape on him again and make sure that I have everything kind of what he does and the tendencies he has on the fights. I make sure that I watch that again. But it's really gonna help because watching Gilbert fight Woodley from that front row as a corner man, just gave me that view of I've seen him in the octagon. I've seen Woodley fighting. I kind of know his timing. Obviously, it's different when we're going to fight and he has a lot of time to improve, to change. So I'm going to be ready for that too. It's not like, okay, I got him completely figured out in my mind and I'm just going to go in there and beat him. I know that it doesn't go on like that, but I think I have, a lot of good things going for me, good things that I know about him. And if he comes improved and has some new things to show, I think it's going to be awesome because he's just going to make the fight more exciting and, more in a way for me. I always want to go in there and have a great challenge.
When you watch fights, when you rewatch them, do you watch them with the commentary on or off?
Usually on, but many times I don't listen to it. So like maybe the first 2 times I will listen, and then after that I'll listen to the corners. That's something I like to do. And maybe like after I watch it 10 times, I listen to nothing. I just watch the fight and kind of ignore anything that the guys are talking.
All right. Now you're preparing for Woodley in Brazil at Cerrado MMA, and this is nothing new. I feel like a lot of people feel like, oh, why is he moving to Brazil? But you've been there for many camps now. Has this become a permanent thing? Is that what you're going to be doing from now on?
I never say something is permanent because we never know. At some point might be better for me to have a training camp somewhere else. But from my last 8 fights, 6 of my camps were over here, and I just feel like I have everything. In Florida, it's great. I have great training. I have great coaches. I have great training partners. I have a great environment. Maybe it's not that easy with physical therapy and some recovery stuff. I got to figure it out, but still, I can still figure that out. But family, there's no way I can move my whole family from Brazil to Florida just for my training camps. I can take my wife, and now when we have our kid, I can take the 2 of them, but I still have my mom. I still have, a lot of my family back here in Brazil. And I just feel that being at home, being close to everybody from my family gives me a lot of strength, a lot of motivation, to perform. Also being here at Cerrado MMA is the team I started in. I started training with these guys when I was 15 years old. And nowadays we have, Vivi, another UFC fighter that trains with us. We have a lot of kids that are up and coming and soon will be in the UFC. And being in this environment where I see everybody's really hungry and I can kind of set the example and set, the level they gotta. I feel like I'm the minimum. If I train, this amount of times, you got to do that at least or more to get to the UFC. I kind of feel like I'm, being the example for them. I'm setting the bar for them. And that really motivates me. That just makes me, go much harder in training and feel like, I'm ready for anything. So I feel like Brazil really clicked whenever I came back to having training camps over here. I just feel like it's great. I'm always going to go to Florida and train. I love to go to Florida when I don't have a fight because then I can train with everyone. Like now I'm going to fight Woodley. I'm going to train with guys that are a little bit shorter than me. I cannot train with, 6'1", 6'2" feet tall guys. It doesn't make sense right now. So if I go have a training camp in Florida right now, I cannot take advantage of all the human, all the training partners that I have there. So I just feel like I like to go there without a fight, and I can just enjoy myself, train really hard, and train with everyone, regardless of weight class, and have fun.
Do you feel like sometimes when you're training in Florida, it kind of becomes overcrowded a little bit, since you're preparing for a fight and there's a lot of guys coming in and out, and they could be potential opponents?
Yeah, I mean, opponent, like I don't really mind training with opponents. For me, it's not a big deal. I actually enjoy it. I think I would easily have a training camp with somebody I would fight. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I know that not everybody would be okay with that, but like I don't know. I feel like fight is different than training. No matter how hard we go, it's different than training. It's small gloves. We don't have shin guards. We don't have, any kind of protection. It's different. But I don't know. I feel like Florida is great. And when it's crowded, I love it because I can train with a whole bunch of different people and with different games, great strikers in different kind of striking and great grapplers in different areas of grappling. So that is really good. But when it's a training camp and for a big fight like I'm having right now, I feel like I want more eyes on me and, more guys kind of working on my fight so I can have some 2 or 3 guys that are just going to do what Woodley does, because that takes time from the guys too. They got to kind of pause their training camp and whatever they're doing to kind of be somebody else, be Woodley for me. And in Florida, everybody has a fight. Everybody, has big fights in the UFC or in Bellator and whatever. So it's hard to do that, And I understand. I mean, I don't expect it to be different. It's a big team, and I don't know. I think that this way is the way that I've managed to take both the best from both of the environments, the best of Cerrado, having my camps over here, and the best from Sanford, going out there and training with the highest level. In my opinion, is the team where you have like the more high-level fighters in the same room training together. So, I do this mix-up, and it works really good for me.
When you look at Woodley, he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but to the 3 best welterweights in the world. Do you think fans forget that and they underestimate him?
Oh, I definitely do. I definitely think fans just, when you're losing, people are always going to think that you're done. And if I think that about Woodley, that's the biggest mistake I can do. If I just get in there and, okay, this guy's done, I'm going to retire him. No, I think he's getting ready to show everyone that he is still that guy that was a champion. Losing to the 3 best in the world is not like, man, you're done. You lost to the 3 best guys in the world for a reason. They are the best guys. And I'm going to be ready for the best Woodley, maybe a Woodley better than anybody has seen, just in case, I don't want to get there and be surprised. So I'm going to be ready for the best version of him. And I don't know. I feel always that I'm going to fight people. People know my style of fighting. They know I'm aggressive. They know I'm in there to take their heads off. I'm in there to, knock them out or submit them. I think that lights a fire on them because it's kind of survival, They don't want to get knocked out or submitted. So it makes them train that harder. So I'm used to usually facing the guys. When I'm going to face someone, usually I face the toughest version of them. So that's what I'm going to be ready for.
Have you ever went into a fight where your ego somewhat took over and it got you into trouble during the fight?
Definitely. Against Thompson. Okay. When I fought Thompson, we had the strategy, we had the game plan. I did that in the first round, and that made me connect some really good shots in the first round. And then I got too excited. In my mind, I was like, man, I'm fighting Thompson, and I've touched him. I've hit him hard, and he kind of felt my hits. So maybe I can knock this guy out. And then I kind of that was my ego. That was saying okay, you can knock this dude out, and then you're going to be the man right now. And that kind of set me up for disaster because I started overcommitting and being too aggressive. And that's what Thompson wants. He wants somebody that is coming at him, opening up, and he can counter. And I started getting countered. And, that was a big mistake. And I felt like my ego at that moment kind of it tricked me into just going aggressive and getting blind a little bit.
So that fight must have been extremely pivotal for you to prepare you for the bigger fights coming forward, like this Woodley fight.
Definitely. I would have loved to beat Thompson, but I think I lost to him at the best moment I could have, because it's when I'm moving up the rankings, I'm getting ready, to face the big names and eventually go for that title fight. And I lost to Thompson at the right moment. It didn't affect me too much. I didn't go down in the division. I still kept on climbing, got great wins, and I could improve my game, correct a lot of mistakes. He exposed a lot of things in the striking where I consider is my strongest point, and he exposed me a lot in the striking. So it kind of opened my mind to a lot of different things I needed to improve on my striking.
Do you think fighting a 3-rounder versus Woodley, who's been fighting 5-rounders for a long time, favors your style?
I think so. I'm really I want to fight 5 rounds. That's something I've been wanting for a while. I feel like I got 5 rounds in me, and it's not going to happen this time, but I think 3 rounds, especially in this small octagon, that's going to make us, have a really aggressive fight, a high-paced fight. And that I always think it favors me. I'm used to having high-paced fights. I'm not one to gas with high-paced fights. So, I think it definitely is good for me. I also think that might make Tyron a little bit more aggressive. I feel like he hesitates when it's 5 rounds. And if he's more aggressive, he can give me more openings as well. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like that is the key in this fight, or one of the keys in this fight is, will Woodley come forward? You know, because he doesn't have to have that extra 10 minutes of fighting if he needs it. And I don't know, with your style, if that happens, that's a crazy fight for 3 rounds.
For sure, man. I mean, if he wants to really go in there and go to war, I'm ready for war.
Now, you seem to be in the right place. You know, I mean, you're like lined up right before the 2 title fights. It's a huge spot on the pay-per-view. Have you taken a moment to think about how big of an opportunity this is?
Man, yeah, I think every day I think about that. And, you know, it's something that it's crazy because if I were in this spot maybe 3 years or 4 years ago, I would have been like, man, I can't believe this is happening to me. But right now, where I am now, I know why this is happening to me. You know, I know the work I've put on to be right here. I know the run I've had in the UFC to be right here. So it kind of like, it's great to be here, but at the same time, it all makes sense. So it's not like I'm not surprised, you know. It's yeah, I'm right where I should be, you know, facing a big name, a former champion, in a great placement in the card, because people know that a fight of mine is one to watch. That's why they're going to put me up there. And that's what I want to be. I want to be a guy that sells fights. And I'm not a talker. You know, I can talk, but I cannot talk trash. You know, that I just don't feel like talking trash. That's not who I am. But I can sell my fights with my style. You know, I know people want to watch me fight. So it is great. And it is like an achievement to be fighting at the level I am right now. But it makes sense, a lot of sense in my mind.
Outside of climbing closer to the title, what does a win over a former Strikeforce and UFC champion do for your career and your legacy, basically?
Man, a win over him definitely sets me up, you know, in the division to face somebody in the top 5. That's what I see for myself after this fight. Obviously, I'm totally focused on beating Woodley. I still have to get in there in that octagon and face him and get a big win over him, and that come first. But if that happens the way that I plan it to happen, I definitely don't see myself not facing somebody in the top 5 and beginning, you know, to get into that title talk a little bit later after that.
What do you plan on doing? What is the plan? In your mind, how do you see it happening?
Man, I don't know. I always see a knockout or a submission. It's a lot how the fight goes. I'm not too picky of how the fight is going to go. I want to fight stand up. That's what I'm always in there. The fight starts standing up, so I'm going to go striking. But if he wants to look for the ground, that's one of my strengths as well. I'm not afraid of going to the ground. So, you know, maybe a submission can happen if he wants to work that grappling. I'm willing to do that as well. So I don't know where it's going to happen, but I do see a finish. You know, I do see myself finishing this fight and getting a big win.
Have you ever had a fight where you thought, okay, this particular setup is going to get me the finish, and it happened?
I think the first time I fought Nico Price, some of the Brazilian guys, I don't remember who it was. Hey, you lost me there for a second or not?
No, so good.
We're good? Okay. So when I fought Nico Price the first time in Brazil, one of the Brazilian guys from another team was training in his room, and he kind of came to me and told me, oh, he's training a lot of defense of the darts. And then I was thinking in my mind, you know, when you focus too much on something, usually that happens to you. But I just thought that, you know, I didn't think I was going to finish him with that, but I thought like, man, he shouldn't be focusing so much on my darts. Otherwise, that's what's going to happen. And it ended up happening. So it was, I think that's the closest to what you were talking about that happened.
Dana White recently said that Leon Edwards will 100% get the title shot with an impressive win against Belal Muhammad. Do you think that justifies a shot at the belt, a win over Muhammad?
Man, you know, it's not so much about the opponent, although I do think that Belal is a tough guy. But considering like the rankings, he's not that high up to credentiate somebody to fight for the title. But when you see Leon's run, you know, 8 wins, and he deserves a title fight, you know. And he's one of the guys that is kind of like me. He's not much of a talker. He's more of a doer. He goes in there and wins fights. And I think that kind of talks more than anything. He has been winning fights. He hasn't been active, but now if he gets a win, he will be active. So it makes sense. I think he does deserve that title fight. I don't know if he will get it. Guys like Masvidal, I understand why they jump in front. He just puts on really exciting fights, and he can sell fights. He talks a lot of trash. He has all that thing going on with Kamaru. So we'll see what goes on. But when I see sports-wise, what makes sense in the sport is for Leon Edwards. If he gets that win to fight for the title next.
March 27th, UFC 260. You take your next step towards the title against Tyron Woodley. Thank you, Vicente, for the time. Enjoy life, man. You got the baby coming, and you got big fights.
Yeah, for sure, man. I definitely I am living a great moment and really enjoying it. Thank you for having me once again. Thank you, all the fans. That's what I fight for. I fight for the fans. They're the ones that really push me. I want to give them the best fight ever. I wish they could be in the crowd. I miss the crowds, but what can we do? Hopefully the pandemic gets done soon and we're all back to normal. And yeah, thank you, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Take a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you feel.